Hey guys, welcome back to Netherlight Temple. This is part 2 of the 2 video series looking at Holy Priests, the specialization Holy Priests, and what is coming for them in World of Warcraft Legion. In the first video we looked at the abilities and the artifact weapon that was coming to a Holy Priest in Legion. This time we will be looking at the PvE and PvP talents coming to a Holy Priest in World of Warcraft Legion. Now I will say, for the most part, their talent tree has been completely stripped clean, and you have a full new load of abilities to play with. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. We'll start with the PvE talents and then move into the PvP talents. So, for the first ability here on the left hand side, we have a Trail of Light. When you cast Flash Heal, 40% of your healing is replicated to the previous target you healed with Flash Heal. I'm not really sure how popular this can be. Maybe in an emergency situation and healing in a raid, you may Flash Heal someone and then immediately have to go Flash Heal someone else to keep them both alive, and it can end up working out for both of you. That's where I can see it being the most use. Maybe it has some PvP uses as well, but that's definitely an interesting talent for you to take there. There is Enduring Renewal. Your single target healing spells refresh the duration of your renew on the target. So this is more of a tank option. Not having to worry about renew on the target, and you can just continually use your single target heals to get some more efficiency and just keep the healing up on them. And then lastly, there's Enlightenment. You regenerate mana 10% faster. So in long raids in which management of your mana becomes a problem, this can become very useful. Do know that they are continuing with each successive expansion to make mana a problem for healers. They want it to be difficult again. They have even brought back Innervate to druids, and there's actually a talent in here as well to help with mana. So they are really focusing in on making mana management a problem, especially since almost all specs have been taken off of mana. In terms of DPS specs have been taken off of mana as their primary resource. Now Balanced Druids have lost it, Elemental has lost it, Enhancement has lost it. I think only Mages truly are, kind of dependent on mana in terms of how they really function. So they're really working on making mana a real issue. Most people have a mana pool of about 300,000 or so at 110. Healers have about 1.1 million mana. So they really are changing things up to healers and making them work harder with their mana. In the second tier, we have Angelic Feather. This should look familiar. However, in this tier, you should know that Angelic Feather now only increases speed by 40% for someone walking through your feather, as opposed to 60% increased movement speed. So there's a nerf there with Angelic Feathers, and that the movement speed is not quite as much as it used to be. Body and Mind is a new talent here. Remember, the old one was Body and Soul, but you no longer have Power Word Shield, so now there's Body and Mind. It is a 10-second cooldown, heals the target for 13,000 every 1 second, and increases their movement speed for 40% for 4 seconds. Let's see if I can use this on myself. Bring it down here and use it. And as you can see, I heal myself and I'm able to move faster. So actually I kind of like that. It's not quite like Body and Soul, but it kind of functions the same way. Body and Soul gave you the shield and then movement speed increase. This is giving you healing and then the movement and speed increase. There is Desperate Prayer, which used to be on the 15 tier, and it has changed a little bit. The old version was just heal the character for a certain amount, 2-minute cooldown. Now it is heals you for 20% of your maximum health and increases your maximum health by 20 per second, decreasing by 2% every second. So overall, basically, it's a buff overall. It's a 1.5 minute cooldown as opposed to a 2-minute cooldown, so the cooldown's been reduced, the heal is still there basically, and it increases your health pool as well, so it's really a lifesaver. In the third tier, we have Shining Force. Since that is a 1-minute cooldown, we'll get to that after these others. First, we'll look at Censor. Passive, Holy Word Chastise stuns the target for 5 seconds and is not broken by damage. PvPers, this is what you want right here. Getting a 5-second stun. You basically have your own Hammer of Justice now. And do remember that Smite will reduce the cooldown on this from 1 minute. So if I decide to chastise someone, Holy Word Chastise, I can smite them for a bit and lower the cooldown by 6 seconds each time I smite them. And, I'll have a stun up quicker than before. So that's pretty good. Over on the right-hand side, we have Afterlife. Increases the duration of Spirit of Redemption by 50%. Just for some clarification, Spirit of Redemption lasts for 10 seconds, so there will be a 15-second on that. That may be useful considering that Guardian Speeder is now a 4-minute cooldown. We did not see anything in the artifact weapon that actually reduces that, so it is a 4-minute cooldown. And so maybe Afterlife is something that you may want to use, to have in your arsenal, as opposed to having something like Censor. Censor is definitely something that PvPers will possibly want to take. The last one here, though, is Shining Force. 1-minute cooldown instant. Creates a burst of light around a friendly target, knocking away nearby enemies and slowing their movement speed by 70% for 3 seconds. So if you find yourself overwhelmed by targets, you can go ahead and use Shining Force. So it's really going to be kind of up to the Holy Priest in PvP which one they like better, Censor or Shining Force. I'm going to use Shining Force right here. I'm going to go ahead and use it here. You can see it's just a burst of light there. It'll snare everyone. Honestly, I don't think, if you're already surrounded like that, I don't think the snare will be that useful. And that's why I see Censure being taken more than Shining Force, but I could be wrong. It could be a little bit different. I'm not sure how people will react to that. That's something we'll have to see. In the 60 tier, we have Light of the Naru. Serendipity reduces the remaining cooldown on appropriate Holy Word by an additional 2 seconds. That means that, I'm going to go ahead and take this right here. That means that when I use Holy Word Sanctify, that each time that I use Prayer of Healing on this target here, it will reduce it by 8 seconds. So you're going to get us the Sanctify, Holy Word Sanctify, up a lot quicker than you were expecting. And that is with the Light of the Naru talent. The second one here is Guardian Angel, is a passive. When Guardian Spirit expires without saving the target from death, reduce its remaining cooldown to 90 seconds. So considering, once again, that it's a 4-minute cooldown, this may be something that PvPers may want to take, or even PvEers, because that's kind of a big deal. I would think PvEers may take this more. Though it all depends on how drastic and how dire the situation is with mana and healers in World of Warcraft Legion. And I say that because of this last one here. You may remember this ability, Symbol of Hope. This was an ability that was available to priests a long time ago. It is now back in a talent. Maybe it wasn't so long ago. Maybe it was only like an expansion ago. But Symbol of Hope bolsters the morale of all healers in your party array with 40 yards, allowing them to cast spells for no mana for 10 seconds. If you remember, I said Innervate is back. It makes sense for this to be back as well. I mean, they're really giving you tools to mitigate intensive mana spending, which means that healers are going to have to pay attention to their mana bar. So I'll go ahead and use this here. Symbol of Hope. I believe a little bit of change in how it worked before. I believe before it was like a cast. That's not the case anymore. You just cast it, and then you have this wonderful little icon above your head. So if you see that in your raid and your Holy Priestess pop that, just know that you can blow everything, and your mana bar will still stay right where it is. In the 75 tier, we have Surge of Light. Your healing spells and Smite have an 8% chance to make your next flash heal instant and cost no mana, maximum 2 charges. That's all your healing spells. So let's go ahead and just go ahead and use this here, just so we can see if we can get some charges on this. If we can ever get some charges on this. There we go. We got a charge on it, and nice visual icon on the left-hand side here. So it's definitely nice to have that there, and that applies to all of your healing spells. So even your holy words as well, that applies to it. So there's your Flash of Light proc. On the right-hand side, we have Piety. Prayer of Mending now triggers Serendipity. reducing the remaining cooldown left on Holy Word Sanctify. So Prayer of Mending basically will now work with your Holy Word Sanctify. So if I'm going to go ahead and take this, this means that every time I cast Prayer of Mending, which I have to cast on myself, because I'm not in a raid or whatever, it will also reduce the cooldown on Holy Word Sanctify. I honestly don't see anyone taking this, because Prayer of Mending already has an 11.2 second cooldown. What's the worth really going to be in this? So every 11.2 seconds you have another trigger on this. I'm not buying it. Instead, I would see people probably taking Binding Heal, which functions the way it did before. And as mentioned when we talked about Serendipity in the last video, it will trigger Serendipity, reducing the remaining cooldown of both Holy Word Serenity and Holy Word Sanctify by 3 seconds. So it works on both your heals, which is pretty awesome. Use Binding Heal here, you can see, just like that. Works great. I honestly, Surge of Light is pretty good, but why not take Binding Heal? I mean, really. Especially since, you know, it's going to reduce the cooldown of both. I mean, I'll use both right here, and then I'll start using Binding Heal, and you'll just see it start cutting into their cooldowns constantly, which I think is amazing. So this is really a positive talent to have. Halo and Divine Star are back, unchanged, same as always, same everything. They have not changed at all, so they are still there. This is the one thing that hurts me the most. I loved Cascade. It was my favorite, and it's gone now. So I'm pretty upset about that. Cascade I thought was one of the coolest spell visuals in the game, just having the little spell effects flashing all over the place. And considering that they're now working on upgrading spell visuals, I don't understand their reasoning for getting rid of Cascade. Maybe because it was too random, and people didn't like the randomness of what Cascade would do. Which I guess I can understand, but I'm a sucker for fun abilities, and I thought it was a fun ability to still have. And Cascade has been removed. Instead, there's Divinity. When you heal with Holy Word Spell, your healing is increased by 15% for 8 seconds. So that's a nice ability to have, especially if you're able to span your other heals a lot and get those holy words back up quickly enough. You can end up having, you know, at least a decent uptime on that 8 seconds of 15% increased healing. In the last tier, first we have Benediction. Your Prayer of Mending has a 50% chance to leave Renew on each target it heals. So that's actually pretty potent at spreading renews. However, there's a large randomness to that. You know, it could end up just leaving renew on a target that pretty much has, you know, close to full healing. Like Prayer of Mending heals it up all the way, bounces to another target, leaves a renew that does nothing but do overhealing. So, in honesty, do I see this being used a lot? Not really. The other ability here is Circle of Healing. I told you this would be back as a talent, and it is. So you still have Circle of Healing, heals up to 5 injured allies within 30 yards with a other target for 57,000, 14 second cooldown. I'll go ahead and use it here so you can see. There's your good old Circle of Healing. It's still there. You can grab it if you feel like you're lost in the dark. As a holy priest without Circle of Healing, I would totally understand. I really was really surprised when that was taken out, and so I'm glad to see it at least back as a talent, but it's kind of bizarre not having it there. The last ability, though, is Apotheosis, if I pronounce that correctly. It is a 3-minute cooldown. You enter a pure holy form for 30 seconds, increasing the effects of Serendipity by 200% and reducing the cost of your holy words by 100%. This is really cool. Not only do you look epic, but this is really cool what it does. So I'm going to go ahead and use Holy Word Sanctify and Serenity first. And then I'm just going to start blowing Binding Heal, just so we can see what this does. So you can see, here's the burst there. There's my new holy form. That's really cool looking. And then it's doubling the effect of how quickly I'm restoring my abilities back. So you can see I've already got back Sanctify quickly, and now I'm working, I got back the Serenity, and now I'm working already on getting back Sanctify. And this is a 30-second cooldown. This is really cool. This is my favorite ability in this tier. It will either be between Circle of Healing and Apotheosis. Honestly, with Prayer of Healing, I see no reason for Circle of Healing. It's instant, and it heals for about the same. 5 injured allies, 30 yards of the target, 14-second cooldown. This has no cooldown, and it's 49,000, 5 injured allies. Why not go with Apotheosis? Especially since Blizzard is really kind of pushing towards this serendipity build of Holy Priest, where you're really trying to reduce the cooldown on your holy words. I just see this as being the best one, especially since you have a, it looks like a 15% uptime on this. 15-18% uptime on Apotheosis. Why not? That's really cool. I really do like that. And it reduces the cost of your Holy Word spells and increases that 200% effect, so you can just get those spells rolling really quickly. And these Holy Word spells are really powerful. So, honestly, that is my absolute favorite talent for the PvE talent tiers, and that is the one that I would most likely go for, without question. So, that is the PvE talents for a Holy Priest in World of Warcraft Legion. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Honor talents. Explaining how Honor works in World of Warcraft Legion, you will start at level 1. You will work your way all the way up to 50, like Call of Duty. When you reach level 50, you can prestige and start at 1. Why would you want to start at 1 over again? Well, because when you level up from 1 to 50, you actually gain these talents, starting with Gladiator's Medallion in the top left, going down to a Divine Attendant at the bottom, and then restarting with an Adaptation in the middle, and going down to Spirit of the Redeemer at the bottom of that, and then repeating, rinse and repeat once again for the third tier. You get Gladiator's Medallion right off the bat, and then level 46, I believe, you get the last one, Ray of Hope. So you have to work your way all the way to level 50 to unlock all of the talents. If your favorite talents are all on the left-hand side, you'll get them all by like level 13, and prestiging won't be a big deal for you. However, if you're a big fan of all the talents on the right-hand side, then prestiging will be kind of a pain in the butt. So you may not want to do that, but that's how the new honor system works. So, we're going to go tier by tier, all the way down from top to bottom. The first tier is all about your honorable medallion, which is like a heirloom trinket, 3-minute cooldown. So it's going to be dealing with that. The second tier is going to be dealing all with healing, and then the 4 after that will deal with healing specific in terms of a holy priest. So first we have Gladiator's Medallion, which replaces your honorable medallion and gives you a 2-minute cooldown on it. This is basically your basic trinket with a 2-minute cooldown. So it gets rid of the I guess you could say the heirloom trinket, and replaces it with the real trinket. Your second option here is Adaptation. All loss of control effects with a duration of 5 seconds or more will activate your honorable medallion spell, but only causes it to incur a 60-second cooldown. Well, this basically says, okay, I mean, you have a 60-second cooldown, but you don't really have much control over it. I really like this for DPS classes. For healing classes, though, I feel like they need to have more control over when they can get off of their when they can get out of their stuns or crowd controls, and so I can see more healers taking Gladiator's Medallion. Do know that if you use the Honorable Medallion cooldown, which is a 3-minute cooldown, that you will not get Adaptation for 3 minutes, okay? In the third option here is Relentless. Duration of incoming crowd control effects reduced by 25%. Replaces Honorable Medallion. Because it replaces the Honorable Medallion, I really only see tanks taking this, or anybody who can soak a lot of damage, or can do a lot of healing while being stunned, aka a Resto Druid. So, honestly, I just don't see this being taken by anybody else other than those types of classes. In the second tier, we have the healing tier. First is Defender of the Weak. After healing a target below 50% health, you gain 20% haste for 5 seconds. You have Vim and Vigor. While you are at or above 80% health, your healing is increased by 20%. And then lastly, we have Inner Focus. 30-second cooldown. Provides immunity to silence and interruption effects for 5 seconds, and increases the critical effect chance of your next heal, flash heal, Holy Word Serenity, Holy Fire, and Smite by 100%. I'm not gonna lie, this is not the standard talent for the healing tier. For all of the other healing classes, they have had their own kind of standard healing across the board. This one is very specific. Even Disc has a standard with Restoration Druids and Restoration Shamans. This is very specific to Holy Priests. So Inner Focus is back as a PvP talent directly here in this tier. In the third tier, we have Purification. Purify now has a maximum of 2 charges, so that may be something that you want. You have Spiritual Cleansing, which replaces Purify. Purify no longer has a cooldown, but only dispels 1 magic and 1 disease effect. And then lastly, you have Holy Ward. You ward a friendly target against the next full loss of control effect. 45 seconds. So this is like Fear Ward on steroids. So that's actually pretty cool. This is another ability that is kind of brand new. Usually they keep tiers 3 and 4 to be consistent across classes, the entire class. And I know for Disc Priest this was basically a an entire tier dealing with Purify. But this one they have Holy Ward instead. So this is something that's being brought in for Holy Priest. And I think it's to make up for the fact that Holy Priest really didn't get much in terms of PvP in the PvE talent tree. A lot of classes do actually get a lot for PvP in the PvP in the PvE talent tree, and Holy Priest really did not. When you think of what they lost in the PvE talent tree, Void Tendrils, Psychic Scream, stuff like that, they no longer have that anymore. And instead they have this. So this may be, their way of doing some compensation. In the fourth tier, we have Delivered from Evil. Leap of Faith removes all movement impairing effects and grants an absorption shield equal to 20% of their maximum health for 20 seconds. There's Holy Concentration. After being interrupted while casting a spell, you become immune to being interrupted while casting for 20 seconds. And then lastly, we have Greater Fade. It will replace Fade. Instant 30 seconds, fade out, removing all threat, increasing your movement speed by 50% and causing the next 3 melee attacks to be dodged. So another kind of escape button there for Holy Priests. It really seems that Blizzard felt that Holy Priests were really vulnerable in PvP and are working in this PvP talent tree to give them more kind of options. In the fifth tier, this is where we start really getting into the Holy specific stuff. Or should be anyways. We've already seen several already. We have Greater Heal. The healing done by your heal is increased by 200%, but the mana cost is increased by 30%. So this basically just turns your heal into a Greater Heal. Honestly, considering that I believe both Flash Heal and Heal heal for the same amount, but they have different cast times, this is actually a pretty good idea. However, it's not going to beat this. Rapid Mending. I told you last video there was something that I really wanted, and this is it right here. Prayer of Mending is now instant cast. I loved it when Prayer of Mending was instant cast. It made sense. The only thing that's killing me now is that it has a cooldown. Get rid of the cooldown. Make Holy Priest fun again. 2016. I would really hope that they would do that, but this is a great step in the right direction. Having Prayer of Mending now instant cast is really a great thing to have. The last thing we have here is Faith Renewed. Your Renew instantly heals for 50% more when cast, and heals for an additional 15% over time. So, a little bit buffed to your Renew there. Not a big fan of that in PvP. I'd probably go for either the Grave... Well, there's no question I'd go for Rapid Mending. But, if we're talking about not me, Greater here would probably be... more of an option to me than Faith Renewed. In the last tier, we have Divine Attendant. Reduces the global cooldown... reduces the cooldown of Guardian Spirit by 60%. But its duration is reduced to 3 seconds. So you have to be spot on with making sure that you revive someone. But at the same time, 60% reduction on a 4-minute cooldown. Just trying to do the math there. That's approximately 1.8 minutes. Something like that. 1.45 minute cooldown on that. Somewhere around there. I'm trying to do math off the top of my head. It's a little difficult for me. But that's a huge cooldown. I don't know if it'll be better than the others. We'll see. But that's an option there. There's Spirit of the Redeemer. Redeemer, which replaces Spirit of Redemption. Your Spirit of Redemption is now an active ability with a 5-minute cooldown, but the duration is reduced by 5 seconds, and you will no longer enter Spirit of Redemption upon dying. So this is a little confusing to me. Uh, Everyone knows that you enter the Spirit of Redemption upon dying. Okay, that's your passive. When you die, you enter Spirit of Redemption. What I believe this means is that you, for a grand total of, I believe, 10 seconds, yes, for 10 seconds you basically become immune and you can heal people. That's way better than Divine Attendant. I think that's way better. That gives you control over that immunity and heal. Like, everyone's like, oh yeah, I can be able to heal yourself for a bit and maybe keep the flag carrier alive for a little bit. But let's just say you're in the flag room and they're focusing you. You can go Spirit of the Redeemer and force them to do a complete hard reset on what was going to be their hard target switch. And instead, with that Spirit of the Redeemer. So I honestly think that's way better than Divine Attendant. Especially since Divine Attendant, really, you have a small window of opportunity to make sure you get that just right. With lag, latency, and everything, that can be a real issue. So that's actually pretty good. The last one here is Ray of Hope. Instant 1-minute cooldown for the next 6 seconds. All damage and healing done to the target is delayed until Ray of Hope ends. All healing that is delayed by Ray of Hope is increased by 100%. So, the target, just to visualize this for you, stays at 50% health. Someone can go in there and deal 40% damage. You're only able to get off 20% healing of their health bar. When Ray of Hope is done, their health bar will be exactly where it is, because 100% increased healing is at the end of that. So, another example. Goes in, the target's at 50% health, deals 40% damage again. You're able to heal back 40% of that health. The target comes back from Ray of Hope. When Ray of Hope ends, his health bar will jump from 10% to 90%, because you healed him for 40% plus 100% equals 80%, so he's now up to 90% health bar. I hope I kind of played that out for you and made sense. So that's an interesting mechanic, and I'm not sure how PvPers will respond to that and whether they want to take it. I'm not sure. My personal favorite is actually Spirit of the Redeemer, because that's like a reset button. If anyone tries to hard charge on a Holy Priest, that's a reset button, which I think is really useful. But I could be wrong about that. So that's all the talents for a priest for a Holy Priest in Warlords of Draenor, in World of Warcraft Legion. Holy Priests, for the most part, still play very similar to the way they have, traditionally for several expansions now. However, you are basically extracting Circle of Healing, which you can still get anyways if you want. You're extracting Lightwell, which people were complaining about anyways. And instead, you are really playing off of the new Serendipity and the holy words that you have, and kind of creating that whole idea where you're reducing their cooldowns and able to get them up as much as possible. So, between abilities like Apotheosis and Spirit of the Redeemer, I really have a lot of faith in where this is heading, and I think Holy Priests, you may start to see Holy Priests a little bit more in PvP, especially since Disc Priests have become so different. You may start to see more Holy Priests in PvP. So it's definitely an interesting concept. It's weird, like they've changed the spec a little bit without completely going away from its roots. So I really hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be back for more, but otherwise that is it for Holy Priest. There's only one priest spec. We'll be looking at Shadow Priest last sometime in the future. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later. Tearless out.